mentor for the new student board member.
And that's why I say the policy needs to follow.
Right. Okay, we all ready?
Let me see. Yeah.
Are you two ready? The policy says it. The policy says it's vice chair. Okay, are you guys? Yes. Ready?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. I'd like to call to order the meeting of the St. Mary's County Board of Education for Wednesday, June 8th, 2016. Do I have a motion to move into executive session?
I move we move into executive session for the purpose of personnel, collective bargaining, or legal, property acquisition issues, and student issues, Maryland Local Government Code, Article Section 9-512A 1, 2, 6, and 10.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. I'll be back in an hour. I'd like to reconvene the board meeting of the St. Mary's County Board of Education for Wednesday, June 8th, 2016. We will begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Apologize for the late start. All right, I have one change to the agenda. Following the meeting, the board will return to executive session. So may I please have a motion to approve the agenda with that amendment?
Move approval of the agenda as presented with the resumption of our earlier executive session following this meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Board reports. Rita, you get to go first.
All right. See, they keep moving me on down, and next time I'm moving to that seat.
Nice.
Well, of course, many of us we have done many things these past 2 weeks with all the graduations, the awards, etc. But I wanted to talk about, I went to Project Graduation after the Chopticon High School graduation over on the base. Great opportunity for the students. Thank you so much for all those who volunteered, put money towards it, all the different organizations. I went to go see what it was. They had all kinds of activities for the kids. They were outside playing softball. They had ice cream, bowling, basketball, all kinds of neat things for them. Oh, they got on the bus and they went over to the movie. I left around 1:30 in the morning. But thank you, for, like I said, all the volunteers. There were the sheriff department there. I saw some teachers there, secretaries that were out there cooking. So a lot of effort went into it. And I also wanted to thank Ms. Kerner, who will be retiring this year from Ridge Elementary School. I was a parent volunteer for the day at Ridge's field day. Had a great time. The kids were a lot of fun. I know they had a blast. It was a little hot, but everybody stayed well hydrated for that. So those were my two fun things for the week.
Okay.
As Mrs. Weaver said, we've been to quite a few things, but the highlight for me with the three graduations. My congratulations to the graduating seniors. Each one had a different flavor to it, and but I congratulate everybody that put them on because they went on without a hitch. And again, congratulations to all.
Thank you. Let's see. I echo all the sentiments so far. It's been field day. I tied about 300 water balloons, yes. Awards assemblies for all of the students and their achievements at the end of the school year. And then Margaret Brent had their National Junior Honor Society induction for all of the rising 8th graders last week, so that was very exciting. I'm just going to thank everyone at all three of the high schools and the Fairlead Academy and the Tech Center and all of the supporting personnel, Dr. Walker, your staff, and everyone. The graduations went off without a hitch. There were no storms. Everyone got there. Everyone got home. And I know it was just a tremendous amount of work for everyone. And then if just so everyone understands just how quickly it happens, like I'm pretty sure the minute that the last Chopticon High School graduate walked out of the field house or wherever we were at the gym,
St. Mary's
at St. Mary's College. Chairs immediately started coming down. The flowers were gone. So I know there was a lot of work that went into, and a lot of people put in a lot of hours. So once again, you made it memorable for every parent and student that attended and family member. So thank you very much for doing that.
I attended the 3 commencement in addition to many other celebratory events that the school system has had during the end of the year program. The commencement were wonderful. I want to thank the teachers, the students, the parents, support people, and everyone who made it a success. And I hope the students have a safe and happy, productive, and spend time learning too summer. Thank you.
It has been a busy time. Yesterday, Mrs. Washington, Mrs. Bailey, and I attended the Gateway to Independence transition ceremony for students who have been with us and who are moving on to the next phase of their lives. And it was a thrill for the one young man who was able to join us.
Jeremy Shores, right?
Jeremy Shores, and they have 2 students who will be moving on. It was wonderful, and followed by that, Mrs. Washington and I, along with Mrs. Weaver, went down to St. Mary's College and attended the Fairlead 1 9th grade awards ceremony. And I bring that up because the gains made by those students were absolutely fantastic. The staff at Fairlead 1 and at Fairlead 2 do such an incredible job with students. One young man who received an award yesterday made the gain of 6.6 years in his reading level. Just extraordinary. He is now reading on a 12th grade level as a rising 10th grader. All of their students will be moving on to 10th grade. Another young woman who made over 4 years worth of gains in reading. Almost every one of them made at least a year's worth of gains in reading. That is a tremendous accomplishment for those students, but especially for the staff who have brought that about. And the interactions between the students and staff were very heartening. It is a very wonderful bond between those students and the staff members there, and very special. And so congratulations to them. And it is it's success like that that led to the most recent group of 12th graders who just graduated, having gone through Fairlead 1, Fairlead 2, or some portion thereof, that they have a 94% graduation rate. Given that those students, when we first started that program 8 years ago, the first cohort was reliably predicted to have had only a 15% graduation rate. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the power of your tax dollars at work in a program like this. And I truly hope that Dr. Jack Smith, outgoing interim superintendent of the state, who will be moving on to Montgomery County. I believe that he will be carrying that program or some portion thereof to Montgomery County with him, and I believe that Maryland State Department of Education will be taking a very hard look at how we have accomplished this and determining how they can replicate that program throughout the state. It is absolutely a model, and congratulations to the students and the staff. Thank you.
Mr. Smith?
Yeah, commencement went well. That really did. Before we started that cycle of kids walking across stage, we did spend an evening recognizing our teachers and education support professionals of the year, and that was really a nice event. That was a warm opportunity to say thank you to the people who are really responsible for getting all those kids across the stage. And Mrs. Washington and I, we finished our night at Chopticon High School with an evening of the arts, where we got to see the most recent academy that's added into our fold, the Academy of Visual Performing Arts, put on, first of all, show some incredible artwork, and then usher us into the auditorium where we saw a play that they wrote themselves by Edgar Allan Poe, musical compositions that they created along that same theme, and then some vocal performances at the end that were just, I mean, they were stunning. We were both, kind of pushing back tears. It's really incredible. It's a great school system, and it's a great school system because we have great people working with great kids, getting great things done. And so that's all I have to say about that. Oh, on one other note, though, all of this is being captured via the World Wide Web and the YouTube. All of our commencements, when they were finished, the digital media team, sounds like it's a huge group of people, but it's really just Mary Ann Williams working with Jason Pridgeon and Barrett Brooks. By the time people got up the next day, they had posted the commencement exercises onto our YouTube channel and the web. And that's a quality video production. That's as good as anybody shot there, and you can see it. We had over 1,000 people watching simultaneously, because we put it out simultaneously all across the globe as our kids were walking across the stage. So we are truly an international, global sensation. And that's all I have to say about that.
That's it?
Yep, you've been saying it for years.
Okay,
We're the best in the
let's see,
universe.
Dr. Marr, right?
Dr. Marr.
Dr. Marr, the Parent Involvement Matters recognition.
Well, good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Collaboration between Target and the Maryland State Department of Education, the Parent Involvement Matters Awards is the nation's first statewide initiative of its kind, recognizing parents and legal guardians for their exceptional support in public education. Parents are nominated for demonstrating significant positive impact in their educational communities. The Maryland Parent Involvement Matters Award program was developed to shine a spotlight on parents and legal guardians who have demonstrated significant involvement in the following areas: communicating, volunteering, learning, collaborating with the community, and decision-making. The program's theme, Choose Your Seat, Get Involved, illustrates the point that Maryland parents and guardians are involved in a wide range of activities to support their public schools and encourages all parents to get involved wherever they can. This morning, we're here to recognize our nominees for the Parent Involvement Matters Award. I'm going to ask the nominees to please come forward as I share their name and share some remarks from their exceptional contributions. Mr. Smith, do you mind joining me?
Sure, I will.
The first nominee I'd like to recognize is Mr. William Bubb from Benjamin Banneker Elementary School. Mr. Bubb. William Bubb has been a dedicated volunteer at Benjamin Banneker Elementary School for several years. He has become an important link with the Banneker staff and has significantly contributed to the school's successes. Mr. Bubb has offered his volunteer services to our school system since the time his children began with us. He has 3 daughters who have attended Benjamin Banneker, and the youngest of his daughters is currently still in attendance at Banneker. Mr. Bubb is at the school at least once a week and works to help in any way he can. His consistency and reliability is paramount, as he can always be counted on to be there when he says he will be. Mr. Bubb has been dedicated and the driving force for the Robotics Engineering Club these last few years. The children love to see him and enjoy working with him. He spends one evening a week presenting engaging hands-on activities that allow participants to learn how programming software runs the robots. Since Mr. Bubb has been a part of the Robotics Club, the enrollment in the program has more than doubled. He is considered by the Banneker staff to be a team player, and the level of respect he shows everyone is amazing. He is ready and willing to work with all grade levels without question and isn't limited to only working with just a few. It is programs such as robotics engineering program that allow students to expand their thought processes and hopefully move on to a career that they will love due to the fact that they had a dedicated teaching mentor such as Mr. Bub. Thank you, sir. Our second nominee is Miss Bonnie Reinhardt. Ms. Reinhardt understands the importance of education and, like many parents, advocates for arts education in the public schools. She strives to ensure that the band program at Leonardtown High School remains relevant to the school, the district, and the community at large. Mrs. Reinhardt spends most of her time leading the Leonardtown High School Band Boosters as president. She'll be the first to tell you that what she does for the bands of Leonardtown is nothing compared to what other generous volunteers have done for St. Mary's County Public Schools. She spearheads numerous fundraising events sponsored by the band boosters to make it possible for the boosters to help members of the band to participate in activities and provide scholarships for students to pay for various fees. Her most rewarding role, though, is the busy role of uniform closet coordinator. That is a job, where she helps students with uniforms during the concert and the marching band season. Ms. Reinhardt embodies the mission of Leonardtown High School's Band Booster as she encourages, promotes, and maintains a volunteer organization where she helps provide financial assistance, support, and spontaneous service to the band program. In her capacity as president of the organization, she advocates for all bands by encouraging cooperation among the bands boosters, the Board of Education, students, administration, faculty, and staff, and other volunteer organizations, as well as the entire community, so that band activities and programs can operate at the highest level of proficiency. Ms. Reinhardt, thank you. We have two other nominees. I would just like to read a brief synopsis of their work. They could not be here this morning. Ms. Anne Marie Daly from Chesapeake Public Charter School. She is the treasurer of the Charter Schools Governing Board, and her wealth of knowledge and experience have helped to create a strong foundation for the teachers, students, and community. During her tenure in the last year, she's worked tirelessly as part of the Strategic Planning Committee to secure a grant to purchase the building for the school, and she also puts in many hours supporting the education director, the teachers, and volunteers regularly throughout the school. So we thank Mrs. Daly for her involvement at the Chesapeake Public Charter School. And I would also like to recognize our nominee that went forward to the state for the parent involvement. He was recognized at the State Board of Education last week, Mr. Jason Mandeville from Mechanicsville Elementary School. Over the years, Mr. Mandeville has continuously volunteered to help develop and operate in Mechanicsville's after-school program, the Science Club. The students always leave with an excitement and knowledge that they can't wait to share because of the effort that Mr. Mandeville puts forward. He gives them the background of what they are about to perform, a history of the science that leads up to the experiment, and he eagerly volunteers to run the Science Club that has expanded the club to both 4th and 5th graders. The school community has benefited from this club by providing an after-school club that develops their children's minds and shows the variety of science careers that are an option to them. When the club began, they only had about 2 volunteers. The club currently has 5 to 10 volunteers for each science club. So we thank Mr. Mandeville for his contributions to Mechanicsville.
Just I can't say enough about you both. Thank you very much. Obviously, parent and community engagement is what really rounds out the school. So what would be great is if we take a break and we get some great photos.
Yes.
And then we send you on your day, unless you want to stay for the rest of the board meeting. Okay, that's what I thought. We have much to do. Thank you.
10-minute break. 9:45. have some crazy mojo going. All right, are you guys ready? Can I go back
To
in?
the West Coast.
Okay. All right, we are reconvening our meeting. Next on the agenda is the consent agenda.
Was there any public comment?
Public comment.
Oh, public comment, sorry. Yeah, sorry. I did look at the list and there was none, that's why I skipped over it.
All right.
I mean, the list
good
was
cover.
gone, so I figured there was none.
Clairvoyant.
Exactly. Okay, the consent agenda.
I move approval of the consent agenda modified as discussed.
Do I have a second?
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right, Mr. Jason Hayes with our new science textbooks, hopefully, if we approve it.
Me too. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning, Board of Education. Before I begin, let me first say to all of you, congratulations on another school year down, and thank you for, yes, and thank you very much for everything that you guys do, just being present at all the events that you are. I think back to last week where my son was inducted into the LMS, National Junior Honor Society. Miss Washington, Miss Allen, thank you for being part of that day as well for that. So this morning, I am here to talk to you about, as my wife would say, who is a Latin teacher, my magnum opus, the big work that I have done this year with science textbooks. So I'm going to talk to you about the steps that we went through this year for the entire adoption process, the pilot process, and then finish out with presenting to you the recommendation for purchase. So, if you recall, back in January, I came before you to talk to you about the new science standards that Maryland's State Department of Education had adopted as of 2013. They are known nationally as the Next Generation Science Standards. Maryland has since made them their own, and they are called now the Maryland State Science Standards. So adopted in 2013, and they have been given, MSDE has given every system in Maryland the edict then that by 2017-18, there has to be full implementation of those standards. So in that time frame then from 2013 to until full implementation, then supervisors, myself, all around the state have met and gone to these briefings, and MSD has provided guidance in terms of how to implement those standards. So we have been, what I have been doing is I have been preparing my teachers for the coming of these standards by giving them examples and professional development on what that next generation science standard classroom is going to look like, and really focusing on the shifts that will occur. You know, no longer will it be just memorization of science facts. It's going to be students doing the things that scientists and engineers do in the classroom, all the way down to grades K, first grade, second grade, and all the way up through high school. So this summer is really when we're going to kick it into that next gear then. We're going to do our curriculum revisions this summer, starting this summer. Next year, we will have implementation of the science standards in grades K through 8, in Earth Space Science, which is a 9th grade class, and then for our STEM Academy 9th graders for STEM Chemistry. I was going to do biology, but biology students will take the HSA again next year, so I wanted to hold off on switching over biology because that curriculum for the HSA is tied to the core learning goals that we have right now. So it didn't make sense to me to do that with the new standards. Excuse me. So with new standards will come new assessments. And so this is going to be the last year that our 5th and 8th grade students take the Maryland State Assessment for Science. And so it sunsets this year, and rising then will be this Maryland Integrated Science Assessment that right now MSDE has contacted vendors. They are creating the items. This summer they say they will have the items done, and they have invited teachers from around the state then to go to MSD in August, look at the items and score them and evaluate them on their readability, on whether or not they are tied enough to the standards and so on. And I have selected 6 teachers here from the county that will go up and do that, grades 3, 4, 5, and then 6, 7, 8. So next school year, 16, 17, grades 5 and 8 will take the MISA, but it will be a pilot and it will be no fault, much like Park was last year. The grade 5 will contain items from grades 3, 4, and 5, much like the MSA has, and then same with grade 8. 6, 7, and 8 will all be in that, on that test. Next year, biology students will take the HSA, as I said, and then after that, in 2017-18, it goes away, and then the high school students will start piloting the MISA. So next year will be the last year for the biology HSA. And so this is just, I shared this with you back in January, a little bit updated with some things here and there. So we will revise, again, we'll revise our curriculum for grades K through 5, 6 through 8, and then Earth, Space, Science, STEM, Chemistry this summer. Next school year, the first thing I'll do in August when I meet with my teachers, I will talk with my high school teachers to develop the pathways that we want to have students take then for their 9th, 10th, 11th grade years and 12th grade to meet the standards and to meet the requirements of the new standards. And then, as I said, grades 5 and 8 will take the MISA for no fault. By 2017-18, that's that flagship year, MSD has decreed full implementation. So by that time, we will be K through 12 fully aligned to the standards. Grades 5 and 8 and now high school students will take the MISA for no fault. And then by 18-19, again, we're fully aligned like the year before. High school students take the MISA no fault. That is going to be the first year grades 5 and 8 will take the MISA and it will count. And then by 19-20, we are fully aligned, and all students taking the assessments, those assessments will count. So it seems like it's far off, but it's going to be here before you know it. So also with new standards comes the need for new materials. And as I look across the county at the materials that we currently have, we have textbooks that are severely outdated, that have information that is just not pertinent anymore, the information that is rather archaic, that has not caught up or met the times, you know, with science, the events of science that are happening even now as we speak. And so consistent with the JREGs, with any kind of new adoption then, we had several texts this year that were reviewed by teachers, by IRTs, and by the parents that I met with and reviewed the materials with as well. And that's really what I'm here to talk to you about today, is the process that went behind why we are here today for the new science textbook purchase. So this is the timeline. It started really last summer by me contacting the companies and saying, hey, we're going to go through this textbook adoption. Essentially, what can you do for us? And these companies have been very, very generous to us, and they were very willing to go ahead and have the pilot occur K through 8 and then also high school as well. So at that point then, I put out the information and I said, to my teachers, would any of you be interested in doing the pilot? And the response was very much overwhelming. Yes, let's do it. So I selected pilot teachers to go ahead and take those materials, get trained in those materials from the companies, and use the materials with their students. So the actual pilot of the materials occurred second quarter and then ended third quarter, which was March of 2016 at that point. And also in that time, I personally met with parents to show them the textbook materials, to show them what their students would be using in the classrooms and so on. And throughout the pilot time, if you see December 2015 through February, there was a need to hear from the teachers. There was a need also to hear from the students of those teachers to see how the materials were going, or to see how the pilot was going. So I brought teachers together here at central office, and we met with the company representatives, and we debriefed. How are things going? What are the positives? What are the challenges you may have? And these companies, they took notes, and they went back, and for the most part, they fixed, or they really adhered to the feedback from the teachers and so on. And it even came to the point where the companies actually came out to the classrooms to assist teachers in any way, shape, or form that they needed to for that. In April, I had samples of the textbooks that I delivered to all 3 libraries. This is part of the JREG process, is that they are out in the public for review. The newspaper ran it as well. They were at the libraries, like I said, in April. And I actually had, with the books, I had information about each of the series, each of the textbooks. And I had a link that parents or the community could access, and it linked to a Google form. And if they wanted to provide me any kind of feedback or had any questions, they could do so. It was completely open to the public, but no one had any comments. And when I went back to the libraries to collect the samples, I asked the librarians, were there any comments or questions, and they couldn't recall any. So my thing, I guess, no news is good news, right, for that. And so throughout March, the end of March, at the end of third quarter of March, and then throughout May and April, I wanted to give non-pilot teachers and parents and whoever would like to show up the opportunity to see what these materials were all about. So I contacted the companies, and they came down and they gave a series of presentations, 1-hour presentations with time built in for Q&A from the teachers and from any of the other stakeholders that were at the meetings. So those happened all throughout March, the end of March, and then all throughout April and May. At which point then, I required my pilot teachers to then start scoring the materials. Okay, I developed a score sheet, and any of the teachers then that attended all of the presentations, I felt would be a good judge as well to score these materials along with the pilot teachers. So we came together and we scored the materials. And on my score sheet, I had 6 different things I had them looking at, which are bulleted there for March, May 2016. The first thing, content alignment. I wanted to see if what these companies said was going to be true, in that they say, oh yeah, we're next gen science compliant, we're fully aligned. Come to find out, many of the materials we piloted were not. They say they were, but backhandedly they really weren't. But the ones that we did select, I can in earnest say they are fully aligned to the next gen standards. The second thing, I wanted them to look at instructional practices. I wanted to see if the materials that the students would be doing would follow, let's say for science, follow the 5E model, where they would explore, there's engagement, there's explanation, and so on. I wanted to also make sure that there was time and materials and activities and resources for, with the next standards, engineering practices, STEM applications, things like that. Number 3, differentiated instructional resources. We all know students don't all learn at the same pace or are on the same level, so do the companies and the materials that they have extension for those above grade level learners, on level, and even retroactively those who are below level, to get those students caught up to on level and so on. Number 4, teacher support. Do the companies have a nice, robust package for my teachers of online resources? Do they have lab manuals? Do they have leveled readings for the students, and so on? Number 5, assessment, which is very, very important, not just your end of chapter multiple choice tests, but also formative assessments. Are there bell ringers? Are there warm-ups, exit ticket things that teachers can use to immediately assess whether or not their students got it? And then the last one, parent and guardian connections. Do the programs provide resources or ways that parents at home can interact and help support their children with the science materials. And also keeping in mind students that are on homeschooling. Will the homeschool students and their teachers have good access to these things? So we scored them based on those 6 criteria. And then on May 10th, I met with my elementary teachers for about 2.5 hours. We sat down. I compiled all the data into a nice one-page sheet for us to review. There were comments from the pilot teachers. There were comments from the parents, from all the stakeholders, from students. And we made our selection. And then I did the same thing on May 19th for our secondary folks, middle and high school, right here in this very room, as a matter of fact. And so I come before you, Board of Education, with our recommendations. For elementary, K through 5, we have selected the Exploring Science series from National Geographic Cengage Learning. This was one that my pilot teachers in particular were just so enthralled with, and it really rejuvenated their love of science. And they saw that with their students as well. Their students, from what they told me, just couldn't wait to get to science. They couldn't wait to do the things and do the activities that came with this particular series. Parent comment, I shared these materials with elementary parents. One mother in particular, I love this book because it is not full of science facts. It is to the point and has great pictures, the best choice by far. So you know with National Geographic, you're getting good imagery. That's really what they're known for. And these books, if you had a chance to look at them back in the room there, the imagery a lot of times is what drives the instruction. And the students, immediately when they opened these books for the pilot teachers, they were hooked. The images brought them in. So as I said then, the pilot teachers were really vocal and really positive about this series, and they really feel strongly for us getting this one. For middle school, we are going with the Science Fusion series from Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. This company in particular, in my opinion, has really done a nice job of preparing for the new standards. I mean, their materials are fully aligned. Everything that is with this series is written in a style that is the new standards. You know, it's interpreting data, it's engaging in argument, it's using mathematical computational thinking. That's how it's structured. And looking ahead, this company is also looking towards the future as more counties like us get ready for full implementation. They have created what's called Science Dimensions, which is a product that will be privy to our teachers and our students. I got to see a sneak preview of it because we did pilot with them, and all I can say is it blew my socks off. I mean, it is, if I'm a teacher and I'm teaching Next Gen and I have this product, then I'm good to go. I mean, it really is going to be that one nice tool that our teachers and our students can use. Okay, for high school, we were kind of all over the place for the companies and so on. Biology, we're going with Houghton Mifflin Harcourt. Again, like the Science Fusion series, they are very much next-gen ready, and they are really looking forward ahead in terms of what they're going to be preparing their teachers and their students for. Physics and earth science, we went with McGraw-Hill, which is a trusted name out there in the textbook community. Chemistry, we went with the World of Chemistry series from National Geographic Cengage Learning. And then we also included AP Biology and Environmental Science. We're going with Pearson's AP Biology, Biology in Focus. And then for Environmental Science, we are going for the Living in the Environment series, again from National Geographic Cengage Learning for that. And you see there the comments from the teachers, the pilot teachers, the ones that attended the sessions. The biology book in particular, Gray Mills High School was very vocal about this one because of all the biology books they got to see. They felt that this was the one that would really reach those multiple learners that we see, not only just at Gray Mills High School, but at the other high schools. But if a student is struggling with biology concepts, that's the book that they would want to have in their classrooms for their students and using those products and so on for that. With these textbook adoptions then will be professional development. This coming Monday, June 13th, I have arranged for the companies to come down and provide a basic introduction of the products and just an overview and some very basic training on the materials that the teachers will be using next year. And they will also, some of the companies are actually going to bring down the teachers' editions and give them to the teachers to start looking at over the summertime for that. And the nice thing, too, about all of these companies, the professional development it's spectacular. And it's not only focused on the book itself, it's focused on the new standards. So if I see after next year that my teachers are struggling with cross-cutting concepts or something like that, I contact these companies and I say, hey, can you come provide some professional development? And they'll be down here in a second. I mean, that's what really is nice. These companies have done their homework from the last time we had any kind of an adoption. They're really very proactive and very much teacher and student friendly when it comes to those kind of things. So here is the nitty-gritty. Here's the breakdown of the costs per company for the different series. And you can see the grand total there down at the bottom for that. And it shows the shipping and handling and so on. And so, Board of Ed, ladies and gentlemen, I come before you here not only to provide you the backstory to where we got, how we got to where we are today, but to say to you to approve the adoption of these science textbooks and to approve purchase of the textbooks and their related materials as presented. And this concludes my presentation. Do you have any questions for me?
Mrs. Weaver?
Mr. Hayes, thank you so much for doing this extensive research. And it's having the teachers involved and all the, like the parents, and then doing the pilot program. I think that is wonderful, because now we know that you're getting the best of what is out there.
Thank you.
One of the questions, I have a few questions. The pilot programs, did you do like one pilot for each grade, or did you do like a certain school or particular school, or how did you do that?
A little bit of everything. So, for example, elementary school, we had 4 different companies that we piloted. And so we did the 4 different companies at all 5 grade or all 6 grade levels, K through 5. And it was every elementary school in the county was represented in some way or shape or form. I wanted to make sure that we had that wide range of student involvement, teacher involvement, Park Hall, all the way up to Mechanicsville, White Marsh, and so on. So it covered all the bases with that.
Okay. What about like online materials? Because I know that some of the other presenters, like say when they were doing language arts or something like that, there was a lot of online areas that students and teachers could go to or supplemental. Is that the same with the different science?
Yes, ma'am.
Course?
Yes,
Okay.
ma'am. These books come automatically with an online version, many of which are interactive. The students can use at home or in the classroom and so on. And it's the same book that they would have in their hands.
So that comes with the cost
Yes.
of the...
Yes, no additional cost.
Okay. And then one of the things that I guess I was a little concerned with is, since each of the grades builds upon the other, so you have kindergarten through, 5th grade in the National Geographic, and then we go to a different company. Is there any gaps that, let's say, maybe the National Geographic might have, that if you would have went with one company that they would have had, earlier on in the elementary school, and now they assume when you come to middle school, because they've already presented it in their K through 5 books. Is there any gaps that you can see?
I don't believe so, no. I think, for one thing, Cengage, for whatever reason, doesn't have a middle school package. I mean, it would have been a lot easier if they had, but the gaps won't be there because, like I said, the materials and the resources that come with these companies, if there are gaps, there are the resources that will be there that will be able to fill those gaps. But I don't think, in all honesty, I don't think there will be any issues with that.
Okay, and I did get a chance to look through the books. They, especially the National Geographic, I mean, how can you go wrong with them? They are wonderful at taking these wildlife pictures.
Yes.
They were very colorful and very intriguing, and drew your attention to it. I did look at the biology books and the chemistry. I didn't get to go through like the physics.
I didn't
But-
have samples of those, I apologize.
That's okay. But I did notice one of the things that I did like is that they have areas that are highlighted to draw your attention to, or boxes over on the corner to reiterate a certain point, so that you're not having to go through the entire page to figure out what the point was. So I think, I don't know if that's what the Great Mills teachers were talking about, but I thought that was a very good add to the books, having that there. You know, especially when a student's studying, they can just go back to those areas just to review.
Yes. Yeah, I agree.
So
Thank you.
that's it.
Thank you. Yeah, I had a similar question of that, you know, for high school, since you have several different publishers and each publisher has their own way of presenting material, is there enough flow that the high school student would not see a problem going from one to the other?
No, no problem at all.
Okay, okay. And then the other one, when you said it counts, will passing be a graduation requirement for the high school?
I believe so. MSD is still contemplating that, but I would imagine it would be like the biology HSA is, in that it's a graduation requirement. It's still very much in its infancy. As I said, it's being created as we speak. MSD is developing a plan for when it will go live, as they say, when it will count, what that will look like. But I believe it will be that new graduation requirement, yes.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. I echo Mrs. Weaver's sentiments. I think the implementation, or the timeline that you had, you know, covering 9 months, was phenomenal, and the input from various, you know, factions of the school system and the community. Once again, I agree with her. The National Geographic books are phenomenal, and I think, especially for the elementary school level, a lot of them use those little National Geographic readers
They do,
now.
yes.
So I think the transition, and I actually think that's kind of like the science textbook right now for elementary school. You know, it'll be easy for the children who are, you know, already in their elementary school career to transition, because they've already seen those text features and everything that you're talking about.
Yes.
I think, I'm sure your teachers are ecstatic, because just seeing the challenges that seeing the projects and the work that my kids have been doing in their science classes, you know, without textbooks, and in order to, you know, do different projects in different ways for them to still be engaged in learning. I think they'll just probably be over the top once they actually have a book.
I think so too.
You know, I mean, it's a lot more exciting for everyone. So, great job, and the timeline was phenomenal. It wasn't just a, you know, not that I expected it to be, but so there's, you know, no spur of the minute purchase. Let's just go drop a couple $1 million on, you know, because they had a nice presentation. So thank you very much for the thoroughness.
You're quite welcome.
So, Mrs. Washington.
Thank you. With the new Maryland State Standards for Science, our textbooks needed to be aligned with the state standards, with the testing, and with the curriculum. So this was a perfect time to get the new science textbooks. And also, what I like, you had almost a year of piloting the textbooks, where you got feedback from the students, the teachers, and the parents. And you did a thorough teacher review with a rubric scoring, so that you could see how the books rated. And then you did a final review with the parents, teachers, again. And also, it's going to be professional development over the summer. So you did a very thorough job with the science textbook adoption, and thank you very much.
You're quite welcome. Thank you.
I also liked the collaborative approach. We did discuss about 4 years ago the idea of adopting of purchasing new textbooks, and at that time I made the case that while I understood our textbooks were severely out of date even at that point, that teachers had supplemental materials that they were using to cover the gaps that were present, and that in my mind at least, and the board agreed, that it didn't make sense to expend $2 million basically is what we had budgeted to purchase new textbooks, understanding that these next gen science standards were on the horizon, and we're fairly close on the horizon. So while I'm sensitive to the fact that the books are out of date, I think that this has been a much better approach, and that the money that we'll be spending will provide textbooks that are definitely aligned with the next generation standards. So thank you for the approach and the patience.
Yeah, thank you. You're welcome.
And I look forward to the implementation.
Me too.
All right, anything else? All right, with
Thank
that, may I have a motion to approve this action item?
I move, it was on the board. I was going to read it from the board. I move that the Board of Education approve the adoption of the science textbooks as presented, and that the board approve purchase of the textbooks and its related materials as presented.
Do I have a second?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. All right.
Yay.
Yay.
Yay. The first science textbook adoption of this century for St. Mary's County Public
You
Schools.
just enjoy saying that.
Yeah. Let's.
We're not going to teach alchemy.
That's right now. All right, next is meal price increases, Mrs. Doran, or Ms. Doran, sorry.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Okay, the National School Lunch Program has a provision that requires equality in the pricing of a paid lunch versus the reimbursement that we get for our free lunches. The rate of reimbursement for our free lunch is currently $3.13, while our average price for a paid meal is $2.65. The equality provision requires that school districts to either raise the lunch meal price or to make up the difference with outside funding. In the school breakfast program, increased food cost supports an increase in the breakfast meal pricing. It is our recommendation to increase the breakfast meal price by 5 cents and the lunch meal price by 10 cents, while milk will remain the same at 50 cents. So the elementary cost would be for breakfast $1.40, and for lunch it would be $2.65, and then for our secondary it would go up to $1.50 and then be $2.85. So the recommended action for a meal increase would be that the Board of Education of St. Mary's County approve the increase for the lunch meal price to be 10 cents and breakfast by 5 cents for the upcoming school year. Any questions?
Mrs. Weaver?
Only one comment. I just find it's very interesting that the National Lunch Program is dictating the price. So other than that, no questions. But
Mr. Carney?
Okay. Well, since the new prices will not match the reimbursement, is it still an issue?
The new price, we actually get reimbursed for a paid lunch as well from the state, so we are reimbursed at, at 35 cents for the paid lunch. So with that and the price of the meal, then it equals the free rate.
Thanks for that clarification.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
I don't have any questions. Thank you very much.
No questions, thank you.
Mrs. Allen?
I keep waiting for the tipping point at which parents say it makes more sense cost-wise to pack a child's lunch and send it with them rather than spending.
From a parent who's counting down the days that I don't have to pack a lunch, I'm down to 1, right?
Believe me,
I'm with ya.
I get that. It is a hassle, but we did it for many years. But I understand why we have to do this. I just think that we're going to hit a point where people are just going to say enough is enough. So, thank you very much.
May I comment on that? We're hoping that with next year that the parents will see the value. We are adding to the menu a lot more fresh vegetable options, fresh fruits, some new menu items. So hopefully, the parents will see the value for their dollar going into our different meal options and our fresh fruits and vegetables that we're really going to be focusing on this year.
Which actually brings up a different point, which is at one time we sort of had student tasting panels. Are you utilizing anything like that to determine what the students' preferences are within the realm of what we can and cannot offer?
Yes, we actually have one going on today for a new pizza. We're going to be doing some sampling at Chopticon High School and Leonardtown Middle School.
Okay, you know where we're all heading there.
So yes, we are planning on doing that. And this summer with our Lunch and Learn program, we are piloting some of our new menu items that we are going to propose to use in the upcoming school year to kind of use them as a sounding board for us to see, what they like, what they don't like. So we're going to implement like our new fresh fruits and vegetables, how we want to present them, get some feedback from the parents and the students in that community.
Very good. Thank you very much.
You're
See,
welcome.
I spoke to a Cub Scout troop a couple weeks ago, and that was like their big question, like the pizza, I have to take that back to them, and the shrimp poppers, which they don't have shrimp in them apparently. It's just it's flavored shrimp.
So many shrimp.
There's 4th and 5th grade boys. They wanted better pizza, and they wanted actually shrimp in the shrimp
They
poppers.
want it.
So they'll be happy to know that.
We did a panel of students at Leonardtown Elementary School last week, and they asked if they could have crab on the menu.
All right.
So yes, they're very interested in the
$2.85
shrimp and crab.
I don't
Yes.
know if I'd be signing up for
Ritz
that.
crab.
Yeah, no, they didn't quite understand that, why they can't have the crab, but
Yes.
we.
Okay, any more questions?
They wind
Comments?
up with pollock in the form of faux crab.
All right, do I have a motion for this recommended action item?
I move that the Board of Education approve increases for lunch meal prices by 10 cents and breakfast meal prices by 5 cents for school year 2016-2017.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Motion is carried. Mr. Witten. We're going to paint again at Leonardtown, right?
Yes,
We're painting it.
We're going to finish Leonardtown,
We're going to
hopefully.
finish Leonardtown, right?
I was going to say, when I saw that, I was like, again?
Yeah, we've
Because we
been,
didn't finish last year.
No, we've been- we
Nor
hit-
did we
we
the
hit-
year before.
well, in the presentation, there's a drawing showing what has to, left to be
I
done.
saw
and
it. I did see it.
It is quite the majority of the school. So, the Department of Maintenance maintains about 2.3 million square foot of office and school space. Each year, as budget allows, interior painting is executed in accordance with the comprehensive maintenance plan for educational facilities. Interior painting was last executed in 2001 at Leonardtown High School. Interior painting is currently targeted at 10-year intervals, but adjusted annually based on the actual condition of the interior paint and budget. This year, the third and final phase of the interior painting at Leonardtown High School is the focus. To ensure the results of the bid would allow the greatest flexibility for our budget as well as SMCPS as an organization, it was broken into three phases. The first one, or item one, was Leonardtown High School's classrooms, auxiliary gym, and office space. The second one was Leonardtown High School's cafeteria and auditorium. And the third was Leonardtown High School's second floor classrooms at Leonardtown High. You can see the color code. If you can't read it in the audience, item one is in yellow, item two is in purple, item three is not on this sheet, it's on the next sheet, but it is in green. So you can see this year we're tackling all the classrooms. In previous years we did the gymnasium, all the auxiliary storage rooms, and the hallways. We are changing color too. There is there was like a peach,
Yes.
orangish
Not sure what
color
that
as highlight.
was.
So we're
Yes.
going the new color selection. If you've been in the main hallways of Leonardtown High, are more of a white, a gray, and a blue, commensurate with the school colors. There is a tad of gray in the white, and that helps with keeping the walls clean or hiding things that can't be cleaned off the walls so well. And the second floor, again, it's the entire classrooms. This is not a second floor area. This is just a ghost of the first floor below for a point of reference. The procurement method was an ITB. It was put out on eMaryland Marketplace. The painting services were advertised on eMaryland Marketplace on May 5th. Bids were opened on May 19th. 5 bids were received, 2 of which were rejected for non-responsive or failure to submit a 5% bid bond. And that is extremely small up there. The lowest bid was Titan Industries Services at, if you don't mind, can I turn the page so I can make sure I get the number
Yeah,
correct?
go ahead.
Sure.
At 163,700, and that would be, I apologize for the number being so small on the screen, but that is the number listed there. And there are separate prices for items 1, 2, and 3. The biggest difference from this high school from the last high school we did with Chopticon, I'd like to mention, is that the auditorium at Chopticon High School does not require any paint, except the stage floor in the back, which is black. Leonardtown, on the other hand, all the walls are painted above about 4 foot and up to about 22 foot, where the black, the head doesn't have an actual ceiling in the auditorium. It's more of an architectural hanging. The other difference is Leonardtown High School has 2 auxiliary gyms compared to Chopticon High School, although the size is about the same. They're cut up into 2 different spaces. And there's the recommended action is the Board of Education approve the contract to award interior painting at Leonardtown High School to Titan Industrial Services of Baltimore, Maryland, in the amount of $163,700 for bid items 1, 2, and 3. Any questions?
Okay, so if you go back to where all the bids came in, you'll see under the materials, there is such a disparity in you've got one company saying it's going to cost $26,000, another company $8,000, another company $27,000. Just going down there for the materials. And
Look, I can't make it bigger.
do you see what I'm talking about?
I do. I just realized
Okay.
I can make it larger too.
Here we go.
Anyway.
So I guess my question was when the bid went out, were there like a certain criteria? Let's say the paint has to be like a certain type of paint or a 5-year paint or something that's going to hold up, because like we don't want it painted with whitewash.
That is actually a very large question, and I'll try to answer the question I think you're asking, and I'll try to give some background. Approximately 5 to 7 years ago, Maryland started transitioning away from oil-based and alkali-based paints, and since then we have gone with several different. We have been experimenting with latexes and water-based epoxy paints to take their place, and we've gone from paint primers to separate primer and paint over the years, and we found a base that is holding up well. That's the first part of. Yes, we do have a standard for paint, and we've had to move from the old oil-based and alkali-based paints, which you could paint over a dirty wall and you didn't have to clean it. It was the new paints, you have to clean the walls, and you have to prep them, and you have to clean them with denatured alcohol most of the time, and there are different applications. In the bid package, we did specify a basis of design. And basically what that means is, instead of going into details about the composition of the chemistry of the paint, we have found a paint and a paint manufacturers that manufactures a paint that we're comfortable with. So they have to use that paint or an equal, and they have to submit any substitutions. And as far as I know, they did not submit any substitutions.
No, but you did give them a couple choices.
Right.
Brands.
Well, yeah, the choices of the brands were Duron and
Sherwin-Williams.
Sherwin-Williams. Both are manufactured by the same corporate entity. So they are different marketing, but they are the same paint, in
Okay.
essence.
Yeah, I just.
Did I answer your question? I'm sorry.
You did.
Okay.
You did. I guess I'm just looking still at, okay, one person's saying it's like $5,000 to come back for, all the material for, let's say, the cafeteria. Another person is $1,500, another person is $15,000. And it just,
And I don't mean to, when you look at material and labor contracts, when we break them out like this, another thing, I hate to say it, but ignoring XL Painting for a moment, if you look at the total price between Titan and WKM, you see that they're quite close.
Right.
But you see, again, as you pointed out, that the material cost on item 2, which is the second, I apologize, I made it so big you can't see the lines, but the second line down, there's a multiple of, what, is it at least 10 there. And you can see that they're making their money is how they structure their profit. Their hourly rates are almost half. Either way, I believe that these are most reflective of the best pricing.
Right, and I agree, and you can always, they can always say, well, instead of putting it in labor, we're going to put it theoretically in materials when we're doing the bid, but it just seems, that's why I asked about the product, if you had criteria for the product, because I want to make sure they're not using something that's not going to uphold, the wear and tear and the years that 2 years from now we're going, oh.
Yeah, no.
That's why I asked about.
We did do a basic design, and I believe the discrepancy, simply enough, I believe the discrepancy in the material cost is simply a structure of how they structure their profit. I mean, a business.
Yeah,
profit.
I get that.
Instead of them upcharging us on the paint at Titan, let's say they're giving it to us at cost, but yet they're hitting it on the hourly rate of the workers.
No, yeah, I understand
Okay.
all that.
Okay.
I just was trying to make sure that we weren't getting an inferior product, and that there was some criteria behind when you would put out the bid, instead of just saying it needs to be painted.
No. We do use a basic design for what product we've come to be most comfortable with since the change in. I apologize. I said it was Maryland law. It was actually a federal law adopted in Maryland by Maryland, which prohibited certain kind of paints being purchased north of Norfolk, Virginia, basically.
All right, so we're not doing the lead paint thing? I'm just
That's funny.
just kidding.
It's like poison words. I apologize.
look at it
No,
all.
ma'am, we test for it all the time. I have certified renovators. The contract includes a requirement for certified renovators as required by the EPA, but
Okay, that answered my question. Thank you so much.
not a problem.
Mr. Carney?
No questions.
I don't have anything. Thank you. It's very complete. Thank you very much. Mrs.
Good job, thank you.
Not a problem.
Mrs. Allen?
Is this the same company that has done the painting there over the last 2 years?
No, it is not. Titan has done work at Leonardtown High, but it was not the painting of the walls, if I recall correctly. Titan has worked for us in the past doing gymnasiums and what we call dry drop painting, which is where you basically gymnasium ceiling painting, where the paint actually dries before it hits the floor. But we are comfortable with Titan. Most of these vendors, with the exception of one of the ones that was thrown out, this one, Colossal and Titan are the only two that have bid in past years. The balance of the vendors that have bid in past years and one chose not to bid. And one of the ones that stick out in my head was Vel Painting out of Norfolk. And apparently work has picked back up in the Norfolk area because we're getting, me and Ms. Mail are getting emails asking for references for school system painting in that area. So I believe that's the reason we didn't see them bid this year.
Well, I know that the first year we had painting done, the painting was not complete by the time school started back. And I know that was quite problematic. So I like the fact that you've structured this in such a way that they do have to finish prior to the start of school. So.
Yeah, I've given about a week leeway in there, so that's usually enough time to clean up any hopefully minor details. We do, you're vaguely familiar with my structure. I do have someone that is assigned to that project, and they have to visit that project every day that they're painting to ensure that the proper materials are on site. They're cleaning the walls before they apply the primer and paint, but they do actually apply a primer and then a paint and such.
So since the classrooms are being painted this year, the teachers will have to do an even more thorough job of taking things down off the walls, presumably, before they leave.
Yes, ma'am. We provided guidance on how to pack and what to take home with you and what to pack and leave in the room and how to leave it in the room. We've provided what we call gray moving totes, which are the plastic boxes to protect the items better. And Mr. Watson at Leonardtown High School has been very helpful in communicating that to all the teachers. So that's going well.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Okay. May I have a motion on this action item, please?
Let's see, I move that the Board of Education approve the contract award for interior painting at Leonardtown High School to Titan Industrial Services Incorporated of Baltimore, Maryland, in the amount of $163,700 for bid items 1, 2, and 3.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. There you go.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Hartwick, with erosion.
All right, good morning, board members.
Good morning.
This action item today is for what we're calling Phase 3 of the erosion repairs at Esperanza Middle School. This has been kind of an ongoing project since 2013, and what you have to realize is that Esperanza is surrounded by very steep slopes and highly erodible soils. So it's been a challenge to work through the previous phases. So I'd like to give you a little background on the context of what we're calling Phase 3. The first phase, the major slope collapses that we had, the major erosion was immediately behind the backstop of the southern softball field. And it was so severe that the original slope collapse came all the way to the backstop itself. And there's about a 40-foot drop from this elevation down to this flow line here. So the first thing we did was to stabilize that area, to make sure that we didn't lose any more area in the softball field. So that was Phase 1, while we then designed what we called Phase 2, which was the permanent repairs for those areas. So the second area was a little closer to the school. Again, this is the outline, the eastern edge of the school. Maple Road is up in that area. There was an existing discharge in this area that had really eroded the ravine fairly severely. It was starting to threaten the fire lane that's right next to the school. So the Phase 2 repairs basically kind of changed the hydrology of this area, so all the water that was coming off the roof is collected and discharged. All the water that was in this area was also directed down into this outfall, which is all the way down at the level of the wetlands. So that was a corrective measure for Phase 2. As we were kind of working on Phase 2, we discovered there was yet another area, which we're calling Phase 3, and this is the edge of the gymnasium, and there was a smaller slope collapse in that area. The elevation change in this area down to this flow line is about 20 feet. So as we were doing Phase 2, we contacted MDE and said this is a problem, we want to take care of it. So we did install some temporary measures, stabilization and diversion piping in this Phase 3 area, again, to limit the damage. So we do have quite a bit of experience now in erosion control. This is the area behind, originally from the backstop area, and you can see the severity of that drop-off. And what we did was we installed gabion cages at the base of the slope, and then we completely re-engineered that slope using a geogrid retention method, and you can see how well the stabilization has taken place in that area. The second area where the outfall was, we took that outfall all the way down close to the wetlands. The wetlands are here, and created a discharge area. And again, you can see how well that stabilization has taken. Now, the phase 3 area, again, is not as severe. It's hard to see. It was hard to discover because of all the vegetation until the slope collapsed. But it's really in between the two softball fields. So that area, the northern softball field and part of the southern area are draining off into this area. So we hired the local engineering firm of Mahaffey and Associates to tackle this one. And this is a solution that we came up with. Essentially, the south softball field is here, the north field is here, Maple Road is up in this area. What we're going to do is basically create a berm right along the edge and divert all that water into a drainage structure. And then that drainage structure will then go down the ravine and discharge out at the flow line of the existing stream. So that's kind of the nature of the work. Mahaffey and Associates did put together bid documents for us, and that was advertised on eMaryland Marketplace in April 2016. We had 768 contractors and suppliers notified through eMaryland Marketplace, and 8 contractors purchased plans and specifications. Out of those 8, we received 5 bids on May 18, 2016. Now, bidding in the public arena is not always the cleanest, and we discovered in the evaluation of the bids that we did have a conflict in our bidding documents as it related to when the sex offender certification form is provided. And there was one clause basically said it occurs at bid time. The second clause, which was from an older contract, said that they had 10 days after notification of being the apparent low bidder. And so SGX, who submitted the lowest bid at $48,700, did comply with submission of the sex offender certification within the 10 days. So we believe that they are responsive. You can see that their bid price to the second bidder is pretty close, a $1,300 difference. And both SGX and the second low bidder are small companies that do a lot of site kind of work. And $48,700 was close to our budget estimate of $45,000. And again, just to give you an idea financially where we're at, the original funding for this project was just over $780,000. This has been a very design-intensive process. You can see we've spent over $90,000 in design for the various phases. The construction cost till now is about $378,000, and so the phase 3 again is a much smaller project at $48,700. Again, the project is going to require a lot of fill, and that fill has to be placed on existing soil. So we're going to ask for a contingency for phase 3 of $15,000. So altogether, we're just over $534,000 for the project, leaving $245,800 as fund balance for the project. So we have sufficient funds to do the work, and so we are recommending to you today that the phase 3 permanent erosion repairs be awarded to SGX Incorporated in their bid amount, and we're also asking for authorization of a $15,000 construction contingency. So is that all? Be glad to take your questions.
Mrs. Weaver?
Do you have a start and an end date for the shoring up?
Yeah, our expectation is that this will start this summer. Contractually, we say it will take, they have 45 days. I think they could probably do it in less than 45 days. So it's our hope that that the project would be completed prior to school opening.
Okay, yeah, that was my concern.
Yeah. And the school has been very patient and working with us on these other phases and kind of adapting their physical education activities, recreation activities. So, but hopefully we'll get this done and we'll be done with that.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Carney?
No questions.
I just have one on the map, based on where the different phases were, was there any other damage to any of the other sports fields or anything back there that we have to now take a look at, or we don't know that yet?
Well, I think what we've designed here, I mean, this whole slope area here is, quite frankly, is severe.
Falling down, right.
And if you look across the ravine, you see almost vertical drops on the residential side. Mm-hmm. So by creating the berm here, we're hoping to protect what surface water would flow off of that side. And of course, we picked up all the drainage here. We picked up all the drainage from the roof. But again, these are difficult conditions, and so it's going to take diligence in watching this over the next few years to make sure that if there is an issue, that we intercept it. But I think that with that berm there, we have pretty well protected that slope. Okay. Up here toward Maple Road, you're talking a drop of 10, 15 feet, so it's not nearly as bad.
Okay, all right, thank you. Mrs. Washington?
I agree with you that it's going to take due diligence to pay attention because the school was built on highly, you called it erodible soil.
Yep.
How were we able to get a permit to build a school on land that was highly erodible? And I'm also concerned, like you say, about the future impact it will have on the school as far as the foundation is concerned. Now, one of those areas was pretty close to the school because it was a mobile unit in the back of the school.
This area here.
That was pretty close to the school.
It was pretty close to the school.
And I'm concerned, are there any maps or anything you can look at to see, could there be any trouble with the foundation of the school?
So, we don't see any evidence of problems with the foundation of the school. What is really happening is it's the surface water running down these steep slopes. And so by collecting all the water here and changing the drainage pattern, we're really protecting the building. And of course, these conditions aren't totally atypical for Southern Maryland. I mean, we had similar issues at Hollywood Elementary School. We've had similar issues in prior years at Green Hollow. Both those sites have been stabilized. So I'm not concerned about the structure of the school itself.
Okay, but you're going to monitor it.
Yeah, we do. I mean, and maintenance plays a big part in that. Big part, yeah.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What experience do you have with SGX, or what experience perhaps does another government or school entity have with them?
Yeah, we have not had experience with them. They're based out of Frederick, Maryland, but PG County has quite a bit of experience with them through their Recreation and Park program, and the Maryland Capital Planning Commission has also had experience with them. So we're confident they can do the work.
It's unfortunate that we don't have cisterns at this school as we do at Evergreen and at Duke to be able to redirect the roof water into them to use those for flushing toilets there as we are elsewhere, and to re-engineer that now I'm sure would be a challenge. Do you anticipate utilizing some sort of an engineering evaluation to look really at the totality of the slopes around there, so that rather than just simply monitoring and hoping that based on the dense vegetation that's around there that we'll catch it as it begins to erode, should we be more proactive? Should we be really doing a more comprehensive evaluation of the site to determine if there are things that we should be doing going forward?
Well, we've involved 2 engineering firms up to date, and we've also hired Bob Taylor Engineering to do some borings around the school also, so we understand soil conditions as it relates primarily to the parking lots and to the tennis courts that we want to do. I'm not sure there's much more we can do at this point. We know what the soils are. We've changed the hydrology in that area. The remaining portions of the school back through here all go to a stormwater management pond, and that's in good shape.
Okay.
So I'm not sure we have to do any more proactive engineering at this point, but I think we obviously, as I said, we need to keep our eye on it.
Especially, as we have big storms go through, especially then, it will behoove us to follow up after those storms to see what the site looks like.
And we have to be diligent in the maintenance of the structures that we have constructed.
Yes.
That is key as well. So,
Yes. Well, thank you. I know that we pushed you to start phase 1 even earlier than you had proposed, and now looking at it in hindsight, I'm really glad that we did, because phase 1 and phase 2 especially were quite problematic. So thank you for all that you've done to bring this about. That's it.
All right, and with that, may I have a motion for this recommended action item?
I move the Board of Education approve the contract award for Phase 3 permanent erosion repairs for Esperanza Middle School to SGX Incorporated in the amount of $48,700 and further authorizes a construction contingency of $15,000.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
thank you.
Thank you. Ms. Kimberly Howell, 2016 Educational Facilities Master Plan.
Good morning. On May 11th, I was before the board and we did a complete comprehensive review of the demographics that are the basis for the Educational Facilities Master Plan. And we went in depth and talked about the elementary school and secondary growth and the factors that would slow us down just a little bit over the next couple of years. After that, I came back and we put the final touches on the Educational Facilities Master Plan, and that's what we're actually presenting today. One of the things we talked a lot about in May 11th was the long-term capacity needs. If you look through the Educational Facilities Master Plan and the demographics section, you're going to find a lot of factors that are included, which are birth rate, the housing market, jobs, migration, income, and household size. And while we had gone through the Great Recession and we're still going through that economic recovery, we've had a yield of mixed indicators of growth. But at the end of it, there is support for an elementary school in the next 6 years. While that trend has shown it slowing down a little bit, we are still going to keep that elementary school in the 6 years. To recap from what we did at the May 11th meeting, we looked at the elementary school enrollment as a whole. And if we look at that, and we know that the Maryland state policy is that you need 50% of the enrollment at the time you ask for planning approval, we did seek because if you look at the end, we have in FY 2026 a need for an elementary school. In the FY 17, we were successful in getting planning approval for the next elementary school. As it was currently slated at this time, it would open in FY 2021. And we took a really good hard look at where the numbers are and the fact that the state capacity right now is sitting at 491 for the approval. We wanted to defer that project 1 year so that we can continue to grow the population so that we can get full state capacity and funding on that project. Those schools that are highlighted in the separate boxes will be the basis for those schools for redistricting, and that really is the central portion of the county, which is Evergreen, George Washington Carver, Lexington Park, Park Hall, and Ridge. So those will be continued to be monitored as we continue on with the planning of that school. At the secondary level, we had a high school project within the 6-year CIP. And if we're going on that same number of 600 would be the number we would need at planning approval, and 1,200 when it opened. As you can see in the high school population, when we get to 2026, we're just getting to the point of the 600 students that we would need to ask for planning approval. At the same time, we have around 483 seats at the middle school in 2026. And so what we have done is taken a good look at how would we do a multi-generational building, what other options do we have on adding on to buildings, and we're taking a really good hard look over the next couple of months as we start to develop the CIP for the fall of what makes sense for us in terms of growth. At this point, it's going to be very challenging to get a high school and a middle school, so what options can we look at in the future to meet our secondary capacity needs? What that did was we looked at our CIP, and the state CIP projects are located within the Educational Facilities Master Plan. So we took a good hard look at what are the future changes that we're going to see from where we were at. And at the elementary school, we're going to consider the timing on the next school based on the enrollment and the state capacity approval. The current state recommendation, as I said, is for a building of 491. The building that we designed is 691, so we have 200 students that we're still looking to account for when the building opens. And then in the future, we know that while this is going to meet the capacity needs and satisfy them at the central and southern portion of the county, we are going to have isolated needs in the northern portion of the county as well. And what options do we have, including expansion of our existing buildings and the primary buildings that we have talked about at the schools that we're currently building. At the middle school level, we know that we need to consider capacity options and how a transitional school or a multi-grade facility would work. That holds true at the high school level. We have isolated capacity needs at Leonardtown High School, and we're going to look at how the Fairlead Academy, the Dr. James A. Forrest Career and Technology Center, and other options as a transitional or multi-generational facility with the middle school can work. We have time on these. While we still have some isolated issues at the middle school and high school level, overall, we don't have the capacity needs right now to be asking for planning approval, so we have some time to consider our options. The proposed state capital projects are then adjusted because we did defer the elementary school out 1 year so that we can wait to garner the capacity that we need. And it gave us an opportunity, because we want to stay with that around $7 to $10 million that we get annually from the state. It gave us some opportunity to realign some projects. We had been requesting the Park Hall roof and HVAC and sewer lift in FY18. What we did was we accelerated the Hollywood project by 2 years so that we would have 2 substantial projects that would keep us in a line for the construction funding that we're used to getting. And that would be the Hollywood roof and HVAC systemic renovation. And when we do an HVAC now at the state, we have to look at emergency power as well. And the Fairlead Academy expansion is a project that we've been talking to the state about this year, and we will continue to have those discussions for funding in FY18. We moved the planning approval that we have, we moved the construction funding for the elementary school out to FY19, and we'll continue to monitor the enrollments this fall as they come in, have discussions with the state. In FY 2020, we have Green Holly Elementary School, HVAC, systemic, and renovation and switchgear. We have Great Mills partial roof replacement, and Dinard Elementary School roof and HVAC systemic renovation. And as you can see, we have a lot of facilities that were built in the 1990s or renovated that are coming due. In FY 2021, we deferred the Mechanicsville project out for the modernization, and that was done so that the timing of the systemics in 18, the construction for the elementary school, and then the renovation modernization at Mechanicsville would time out so that we were following our cash flow at the state. In addition, what we did is we looked at Letty Marshall Dent. We had a project in that we needed to do, but we've been looking, and there is an opportunity. We've got the parking lot modification we need to do. We've purchased the Mueller property adjacent to the school, But we've also looked at doing HVAC, electrical, and tank replacement at that school. So what we looked at is in FY 2021, to meet the capacity needs at the northern portion of the school district, we would add some capacity on to Letty Marshall Dent at the same time we were doing the modernization of the facility. In FY '22, we would have no new projects added, and that would be because the projects that were requested in FY 2020 and FY 2021 would be in construction phase. And in FY '23, we did add a middle school with a 509 state-rated capacity and a high school with a 608 state-rated capacity facility that would be multi-generational. That would be trying to accommodate the change that we need to have in terms of capacity at both the middle school and high school, knowing we don't have the need for full schools. So it's something that we will continue to explore. The high school project that was in there was essentially deferred 2 years to this multi-generational concept. At this time, normally I would show you dollars on the CIP. But in light of what always happens, we've decided to show the phasing of the projects and how we're changing the structure. What's going to happen is in July, I'll get a new dollar amount from the public school construction program, and we'll just start the process of updating all of the budgets at that time. So the projects that we have now, those budgets are good for FY17, but they will not be good for FY18. So if we look down, we talked about all the projects that we would do in 18 that are state-rated projects. That gets you down for the first 2 projects, and then the 7th project is the Fairleigh Academy. When we look at Project 8 and 9, that is a new concept that we're going to introduce this year as we start to talk with the county commissioners and the local CIP. One would be building infrastructure critical, and one would be building infrastructure programmatic. And this is something that Mr. Whidden and I are looking to collaborate on to make that link between the comprehensive maintenance plan and the EFMP. And the county already uses this with their Department of Public Works. And what it allowed us to do is take individual projects that we have, which if we look at the building infrastructure critical for FY18, we have Town Creek Sewer, the Chopticon Great Mills High School fire alarms, and the Great Mills High School air handlers. Those were individual projects that we had within the CIP. The beauty of going to one collaborative project for that year is the estimate for Town Creek Sewer. Maybe it's a little bit lower when it comes into bid, but we needed a little bit more money at the fire alarms. Having them in one project allows that flexibility without having to go back to the commissioners if one is over and one is under to do a budget transfer. It allows us just to do all of those type of critical maintenance projects as one. So we plugged in all of the ones that we currently had, and you'll see to be determined for some of the other fiscal years. That is a process that will continue on through the summer with Mr. Whidden and I as we place projects within those fiscal years. When you look at the programmatic building infrastructure, their playgrounds, their flooring, their site paving, they're the interior scoreboards. And again, it gives us this flexibility within the projects and takes like projects and lumps them together versus having a $35,000 and a $50,000 project separately. We did talk about increasing those to meet the needs of his individual projects as well as we continue on. We get to FY19, you'll see that is where the new elementary school, Central County, is located. And then continuing on with the list, you'll notice at the very bottom, we did add capacity at Letty Marshall Dent, and then we are talking about deferring and changing the scope of the high school and middle school projects. The action that we would be before you today would be to approve the July 16 Educational Facilities Master Plan for submission to the Public School Construction Program. What we will then do is this will go to the state. In July, we'll have a series of meetings with the state, especially in light of the fact that Dr. Lever will be leaving the Public School Construction Program, so we want to make sure that whoever comes in understands our needs and understands our dynamics and recognizes that we are still a growing community. Once that is approved from the state, it will then start to become the basis for the State Capital Improvements Program, which we will be back before you in August with. And then it goes right into the local CIP process. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
Mrs. Weaver?
I know back in May when you presented before, there was a discrepancy between what the state projected and what you all were projecting. Has that gotten any closer, or are you're going with your numbers versus the state's?
We are going with our numbers. That is an annual process that happens in March of every year. We did, in some background information, provide you the trend data to show how really what happens, and this is the way it kind of always does. If we're a little higher, they're a little lower, and somewhere in the middle is where we all wind up. They are very conservative normally in their projections, which means we're higher and we're usually closer. This particular one, we're very close at elementary and middle. The high school is a lot different. They're projecting a very fast acceleration of our high school demographics. That will prove out in September, and then we will call back and have another discussion with them to adjust their numbers for next March.
Okay.
Or
Great,
mine
thank
if
you.
needed, but
No, that answered. I wasn't sure which, because I had read through everything and also the previous information, and just was wondering, have they changed the projections, or if it was still remain the same?
no, in discussions with them, I think they realized that the model that they used for high school is accelerating us too fast. And I think their concurrence that we would evaluate again in September, we'll have a discussion once we get the official number, I think is evidence that they realize that they probably need to make a change next year.
All right, thank you.
Since the Fairlead Academy isn't recognized as a standalone school at the state level, how does that impact state funding for any changes?
It's a discussion we're going to have to continue on. They realize that it does reduce capacity for us at the high school level, so they are willing to have those discussions. In addition, there's a lot of opportunities that they're looking at for different methods of construction, and utilizing this as an opportunity to test one of those methods was something that Dr. Lieber and his staff were very interested in. We'll have to continue to have those discussions over the summer as there's a new administration.
Okay. And then, do you foresee any need for redistricting early to relieve some of the pressures on the schools that you identified prior to the new school coming on board?
Right. Unfortunately, right now, we are right at capacity at most of our schools, so there would not be a large-scale redistricting that we could do at this time because there isn't sufficient capacity in a building somewhere else. So what we could meet the need with right now will be relocatable classrooms.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I don't have any questions. Ms.
No
Walsh?
questions, thank you.
Ms. Down?
Who knows what this plan is going to look like after Dr. Lieber is replaced, following his resignation based on the behaviors that were ongoing by members of the Board of Public Works. This is a real loss to the state, and it will prove to be interesting to see how Dr. Lieber's replacement, whoever does replace him, whether that person's professional judgment will stand, or whether it will be the governor and the comptroller substituting their judgment. And that's a great concern, because that could really have a very long-term impact on our school facilities. That said, I am kind of interested in the idea of utilizing a monarch school type approach for Fairlead that might be able to buy us some time and provide a better circumstance for that large program. So we'll see going forward.
I do agree with you. There are quite a few ongoing studies right now that were at the request of the governor and the comptroller to look at other alternative construction methods and ways to reduce the cost of school construction.
And it'll be 20 or 25 years down the road when buildings are falling down. It comes back to roost, but it will be what it'll be. So, thanks very much.
You're welcome.
All right, may I have a motion for this recommended action item?
I move that the Board of Education approve the July 2016 Educational Facilities Master Plan for submission to the Public School Construction Program as presented by staff.
Do I have a second?
I second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Ms. Kelly Hall. Grant-funded summer school programs.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Morning.
This is just a brief presentation for you to just make sure that you're aware of the summer grant offerings that we have. We're going to start with our Title I summer school program. It's going to be located at George Washington Carver Elementary School. The dates are June 27th through July 28th, Monday to Thursday, since we follow a compressed summer schedule with Fridays, from 8 a.m. to 3, so it's a full-day program. There are 120 spaces available for rising 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade students from all 4 of our Title I schools and also from our participating non-public schools that participate in the Title I program. Meals are provided. Students will receive breakfast, lunch, and a snack daily. Breakfast and lunch are provided through the USDA meal program, and that's part of Lunch and Learn. We'll explain that. Then Title I covers the cost of snacks in the afternoon. Transportation is provided, all funded with Title I. All buses are air-conditioned because it's summer. Title I staff for summer school. We have a summer school administrator, which will allow the principal to get the school ready for opening in August. So that administrator will take care of day-to-day running of the program. We have certificated teachers. We have skilled paraeducators. There's a summer school nurse who is an RN. There's a summer school secretary so that we can really make sure that we're managing the program separately. We're very fortunate because we blend our funding with the 21st Century Grant, and we have from that program an enrichment coordinator who handles the afternoon, Michelle Donahue, and an enrichment paraeducator that's with us, Joe Dantorno. Here's their sample schedule. You can see the start date in June, the end date in July. They arrive, they have breakfast first thing in the morning. They have reading and literacy instruction. Then they have a math block. They have a lunch and a recess or a playtime. Then the afternoon is all about enrichment and learning activities that are related to the instruction in the morning, but we really want to make this fun. So it has sort of a whole child day camp kind of feel. And here are some of the enrichment activities that we have, academics and summer. Students will be engaged in team building, arts and crafts. These are pictures from last year because we haven't started this year. They also have some planned enrichment activities and field trips. They keep it local, but they go roller skating. There's a picnic at Point Lookout. They go to the movies. They also bring in some really good cultural arts things. The Reptile Man is coming. He's a big favorite. Yeah.
It's like everywhere.
Banana pie.
And we have some planned surprises. And once we can get all of that confirmed, we'll certainly let you all know of, some guest speakers that we want to bring in. And then we have Lunch and Learn, which is our summer lunch program. And it's sponsored through our Judy Center program in collaboration with our food services department, who have done a fabulous job. Thank you very much to food services for working through it with us. The meals are provided through a USDA grant. And then daily learning activities are provided through the Judy Center partnerships. Again, the dates are aligned exactly with our summer school. The location, we have 2 locations for Lunch and Learn. We have George Washington Carver and also Lexington Park Elementary. And those schools were selected because they are Title I schools, but they're also in very densely populated neighborhoods so that people can walk to get a meal if they need to. We're going to do a press release that Food Service is going to release, and then we're going to have it on all of the local media and saturate the kids with flyers to take home. We're going to put it in businesses and pediatricians, and all the partners will have it as well. Here are the list of our growing partners, and we are extraordinarily proud of this. So we have STEM students, the Patuxent Partnership, the PNC Bank, Soccer in the Park, the Public Library, the Sheriff's Department, FESNY, which is part of the University of Maryland Extension, 4-H, the Promise Resource Center, Tri-County Youth Services. We have Jazzercise with Shamika Collier. She is a they love her. She's wonderful. 3 Oaks, Department of Social Services, the Blue Sky Puppet Theater, the Maryland State Highway Administration, SMECO, the NAACP, the Fire Department, Head Start, Infants and Toddlers, Food and Nutrition, and Safety and Security. So our partnership continues to grow with Lunch and Learn, and we're really proud of that. Here are some examples of things that happened during the Lunch and Learn program. And I do need to say before we get into Head Start, when the summer school children, they eat lunch before Lunch and Learn opens. So the kids come in for summer school, they have lunch, it's very supervised. They go out into another area for their after lunch break when we open the Lunch and Learn to the community. And there are multiple safety assistants that are funded through the Judy Center that are there to just help us manage the crowd. So we also have a Head Start summer school program for our little tiny folks, and it's located at Green Holly Elementary. And all buses are air conditioned. The difference, same dates, but the difference is that it's a half-day program because they are 4 years old. So 63 children come, and our goal is to help ready them for kindergarten. They receive a family-style breakfast, courtesy of our food service department, and we also provide a snack for them, again, completely grant-funded. And the Head Start summer school staff, there's a coordinator, there's a lead teacher that will be on site, there are 3 classroom teachers, 4 paraeducators, a nurse, 3 family service providers, and part of the ever-growing partnership, quite a few volunteers. So we have a busy summer. I would like to invite you to please come down, come to Lunch and Learn, have lunch, do some of the partnership activities. We'd love to see you at summer school, and come for the reptile guy, and we would love to see you at Head Start. So thank you. That's what we have going on with grant programs for the summer. Any questions?
Mrs. Weaver?
Yeah, but thank you for going out there and researching, getting these grants to provide these opportunities for the students and for the families.
Thank you.
Now, one of the I know that you have the Lunch and Learns for Carver and Lexington Park. What about like Green Holly?
Everybody throughout the county is welcome to come. It is open to everyone. They can walk in, and meals are through the grant are paid up until they're 18. But we have some very generous benefactors and some Judy Center money that can help if there's an adult that can't pay for their meal, and it's $3.50. So everybody's welcome to come, but we can only really manage it at 2 sites. That's why there's 2 sites.
Okay, that's fine. Because I know
it's
that
a good
at
question.
Green Holly, there's a lot of people that would be able to walk to that area.
And we do. We have found that people kind of get together, and we will find out where they are when they come in. That they're carpooling and whatnot. But in a perfect world, would love to do it at all of our sites. We just don't have the manpower to do that. But that's how we got to the decision for the 2 schools that we have.
Well, thank you very much
Sure.
for doing all that.
Sure, thank you.
Yeah. Well, when you said it's open to everybody, the Lunch and Learn then does not have a income?
No, sir.
None at all?
Nope.
And the other question was, on the summer school, since it releases at 3 o'clock, do we have a handshake with the park, or rec and parks to move the children over somewhere for childcare before?
No, in the summer, 3 o'clock is,
3 o'clock?
that's it. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. 3 o'clock is it. But most of the parents felt really comfortable with that was really, they could work it out with their daycare, that it was really taking care of it. But no, we don't have park and rec camps available at the school at 3 o'clock.
Thank you.
I have one on the Head Start summer program for the students that are invited to attend. They're coming from all of the Head
Yes,
Start
ma'am.
locations within the county. Okay. All right. Thank you. Great job. Great programs.
Thank you. Please come.
I know they were very exciting last year. So,
Thank you.
Mrs. Washington.
So the Title I grant-funded summer school program is for students at Carver, Green Holly, Park Hall, Lexington Park.
Yes, ma'am.
And participating non-public schools.
Yes.
Do the parents have to fill out an application? Or
Absolutely. What we've done is we've looked at children that would benefit. We work with the principals and with the staff, and we get a list. Every school gets 30 spaces. And so we've been able to work through that. Park Hall also has another camp going on through another funding source, so we were able to give them a few more 3rd and 4th grade spaces. So every school gets to pick the children that they think would be most in need, also in need of some good quality care in the summer. So then we send out the invitations. Our 3 non-public participating Title I schools are St. Michael's, King's Christian, and Little Flower. And we also invite the children from the same grades that are on the Title I caseload from those schools. Yep, so they do. They apply, and then we follow up, and we call them and tell them their bus number and all of that.
So the only open camp for anybody is Lunch and Learn?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, Lunch and Learn is for everybody. Title I is specifically for Title I schools because it's a federally funded program. Head Start, same thing. But Lunch and Learn is open to the entire community.
Thank you.
Mrs. Allen.
I'm really pleased that you've been able to pull together the funds to be able to provide the Title I summer program. So, I mean, over the years, our ability to offer a jump start for students or to be able to bridge the gap of summer and not being in school and learning during that time, the loss of what they've learned can be significant. And so this really, I think, provides that bridge and gives them that good quality child care and attention and food.
And some fun.
Yeah, truly.
And some fun.
Yeah, and summer needs to be about fun.
Yes, it's about the whole child, yes.
Yes, and so thank you.
Thank you
because
very much.
This is really a significant undertaking, but one that just provides such incredible benefits.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just speaking of summer fun, whoever made the decision to not have required reading logs for the middle school students this year, way to go. There are a lot of happy
Mr.
kids
Smith?
I saw yesterday.
Not only that, but if you notice, there are no summer reading assignments.
That's what I'm talking about.
But for high school students either.
Kids were very excited. Recommended.
There are all kinds of recommended reading, but as far as the requirement for summer reading, that is not something that's being put in place for this summer.
I'm sure if Sarita were here, she would be applauding that,
There
especially knowing the number of students that I know that don't do that summer assignment.
And they have all that anxiety, and we start the year with that stress.
Yeah.
But everybody should read over summer. Read every single day. Reading
Yes,
is
you should
fantastic.
read.
Oh, absolutely.
Read for pleasure. Read for fun.
And come
read
to
for
lunch and
learning,
learn.
and read for love.
Do it.
See the library.
Do it for fun and read what you want to read, rather than what you're being.
I think Cliff Notes stock is going to go down.
It's going to be a little. Yep.
Note to self.
Sell.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All right, Ms. McCourt?
Good morning.
Good morning.
The May financial report is before you. On the revenue side, we've received year-to-date $187 million and have a balance to be received of $15.2 million, of which the majority of that is in the area of state funding. So we received 92.46% of the budget to date. There are a couple areas of note I'd like to point out. The National Teacher Board certification amount of $171,000. This money is typically received in the month of June. At this point, we've received communication that it's likely that we'll receive that in July, so we'll need to do an accrual back to the fiscal year 2016. For the Department of Defense, Mr. Carney, you asked about those monies last meeting, and of that $412,000, historically we've received that in the month of July and done an accrual for that as well back to the next fiscal year. For the impact aid, we don't anticipate receiving any additional monies, and if you recall, we actually reduced that budget in 2017. And then the ROTC monies, we receive the Air Force portion of it on a monthly basis, however, the Navy portion of it on a quarterly basis, and the last quarter of the Navy funding will receive it in the month of July to be accrued back as well.
Thank you.
On the expenditure side, we have encumbrances of outstanding of $32.5 million, of which the majority of that is associated with year-end salaries. Total year-to-date encumbrances and expenditures are at $196.5 million, with an available balance remaining currently of $5.8 million, representing an obligated portion of the budget currently at 97.13%. Of that $5.8 million, recall that we have this $1.7 million of the group insurance that we're likely to be accruing for at the end of the fiscal year as well. We do have one category that is currently reflected as over budget. However, that is our health category, currently reflected at 100.29%. However, that is not completely expended. We've got encumbrances of $471,000. We do anticipate having to go back before the Board of County Commissioners for categorical in the month of July or August, once we've closed out some of our year-end salary accounts, especially for those employees that are retiring. Are there any questions?
Mrs. Weaver?
Yeah, for the administrative, I mean, it's just a little bit over the salaries and wages.
Yes. So that's within that particular account. However, as you can see, we've got sufficient funds within the entire category, so it's currently standing at 99.38% for the category. So that'll be one of the transfers that we'll likely have to do at the end of the year as well.
Mr. Carney?
No questions.
I don't have anything, thank you. Mrs. Washington?
Nothing, thank you.
Mrs. Allen?
No questions.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and with that, the next board meeting will be on Wednesday, June 29th at 6 o'clock. Everyone enjoy the last day and a half of school, and we will go back into executive session. I'm getting all these signals. I did not forget. And with that, we are adjourned.